Is there anything better than spring football in Southern California?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Colkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast, always remember the show is free, and never forget how much I appreciate your support. Look, I'm sure there's a lot of things we can list, but nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to a spring day in Southern California. 73 degrees, blue skies, little puffs of white clouds off in the distance. And that's the backdrop for USC spring football. Nothing is better than that. I was out there for the first day of spring football, and it was fantastic. Can't say it any better than that. And for this episode, I'm going to try something a little different, a little new. So if it gets a little discombobulated, do me a favor, hang with it, enjoy the video while I kind of click back and forth and talk to you. I'm going to show you what I get to see, what the media gets to see at football practice. Players coming out, coaches interacting. Like I said, I'll show you a little bit. I put together a montage, both for first segments, for the second segment. In the third segment, I'm going to kind of tell you about some of the people who showed up out of the blue, little cameos. And you'll get an idea because you'll probably hear me mention their names throughout the show. So here we go. Let's give this a shot. Let me know in the comment section. Tell me if you like it. I know everybody likes to see what the players look like and all that. So here you go. Let's see how this works out. Hopefully it works out well. Okay, so first thing you see here, and I do have the volume down because there's just way too much background noise. You got the construction in the back, music, yada, yada, yada. And then you wouldn't be able to hear my voice narrating this whole thing. So here we go. Eventually, you're going to see how big and strong these players look today. And I know the first thing you're seeing here is Caleb Williams. I got some really good story about this little interaction here about Caleb, but you need to hang around for the third segment so you can find out what that's all about. They say that the early bird catches the worm. If you know me, if I'm not 5 minutes early, I'm late. First day of practice, when I was growing up playing sports, I slept in my uniform the night before the game. That's just who I was. So I'm always at practice early. Today I was out there extra early, and it paid off though. You know, I caught up with Lake McRee, who was walking over towards Heritage Hall in the McKay Center. He let me know that he's not going to be able to participate in spring camp. He's still limited, but he does assure me that he will be ready for fall camp. And then I also saw Uzziah Sellers, basketball player, shooting guard for USC. Well, after I saw Uzziah, we were kind of walking, kind of nodded at each other. I didn't know it at the moment. You can see Kalen Bullock there shaking everybody's hands. Uzziah jumped into the transfer portal. Before that, though, I was talking with somebody who works with the basketball program, and I asked him, I said, hey, were you guys anticipating Kajani Wright? And he's like, yeah, we knew that was happening. I said, how many more? And he put the over-under at 2.5. Well, and he took the over. You're at number 2. All right, back to football real fast. By the way, that's Tyler Robles, first guy out. See Dennis Lynch, kicker, showing respect to the All-American wall. This is the height of recruiting season, and recruits are going to be all over campus during spring camp. Gavin Morris, he was out there. Any of you old enough to remember the Love Boat? Julie, the cruise director, he was driving the cart around. 2 recruits that were on campus today. Class of 2024 kicker, Ryan Thierry. And then one of the top safety prospects in the country, Hilton Drake Stubbs. He's out of the state of Florida. He was out there taking an unofficial visit. During practice, Ronnie Lott walked in. And so guess you got to have some one-on-one time with Mr. Lott. That's right. And Hilton's mom, she had a big smile on her face too. After practice, Ronnie spoke to the entire team. My first observation about Ryan, number one, he's the biggest kicker on the team right now. And he's an athlete. That's Bear Alexander you're looking at coming across the screen. What else? I will scroll. Jamil Muhammad. Whoa. I was watching him come up the ramp from the McKay Center, kind of like what you're seeing here with Bear Alexander. And he's huge, Jamil. And I thought I was here. Remember that sound corduroy pants make when your legs rub together? He wasn't wearing corduroy, but I heard that sound. Jamil looks like a big, thick defensive end. He does not look like a linebacker or a rush end. That's Dejan Lafitte. Look at Braylon Shelby, number 34. Look at Elijah Hughes coming up in the back there. Yeah, there's your interior defensive lineman. I'm telling you, man, these guys got bigger and stronger over the offseason. Solomon Tuliapupu. He's back for another year. Awesome. He made his first solo flex for everybody. You know it when you see it. Man, we are all rooting for Solo this year. Cameron Fountain. First of all, he's wearing, I told you on yesterday's episode, he's wearing Tuli Tuipulotu's old jersey, number 49, because he can and because he fills it out. And I'm not going to tell that freshman that he can't wear it because he does not look like a freshman. Much, much different. My second OMG observation, by the way, number 35, that's David DJ Peavy, if you haven't seen him. We often hear the phrase, they don't have the same type of size as the guys in the SEC. Isaiah Rakes and Nate Clifton, 2 transfers, full-grown men. Yeah, definitely. USC's got a couple of SEC-sized guys ready to rock and roll right now. Kate Eldridge, tight end, last year's class. Any of you ever get to eat at Bob's Big Boy? He looks like the Bob's Big Boy statue. I'm not joking. There's Jamil Muhammad. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. I almost didn't even recognize running back Marion Peterson. He didn't have on his number 22 jersey yet. But when you see him, he reminds me, he's got the size of Marcus Allen. Yeah, he's big size running back. Anthony Jones Jr. has got a lot to work with. What else did I want to say? Oh, the transfers. They're not going to be made available to the media this week. They'll be made available to us next week. But I did notice Jaden Richardson, not the biggest guy, but well put together, well built. Zachariah Branch, he impressed me. He spoke with us after practice. Very cool, calm, just really solid demeanor. And he shakes everyone's hand afterwards. Gotta love that. Credit to mom and dad. That starts at home. Branch also spoke about quarterback transfer, Jaden Mayava. He said, look, guy just kind of comes in, puts his head down, goes to work, but he can spin it. He's got a really live arm. There's Solo in the flex. That's his signature thing. Love it. Deuce Robinson, his teammates playing football right across the street there. But Deuce, you might see him coming out here eventually. He's in his baseball uniform. He's getting on the bus to go down to Long Beach, play the Dirtbags. USC won the game 7-3. There's Anthony Lucas walking up there. Wide receiver, Jacoby Lane. Man, he is a team leader. The way he carries himself right now and the confidence that's behind it, it's amazing to see the difference from last year to this year. Oh, by the way, he's all yoked up now. He looks like Dwayne Jarrett in that number 8 jersey. USC's wide receiver group is going to be a problem for everybody. Everybody. I don't care who they're playing. Yeah, that's Isaiah Riggs. Take a peek. Big dude. On that note, Coach Riley, if I talked about it on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC, my everydayers will remember this, or maybe you heard it on the Trojans Live radio show. Coach Riley talked about the defensive line room and how combined they've gained 340 pounds since January. Now, when you see the guys coming out, oh, by the way, there's Cameron Fountain. Braylon Shelby, David Peavy are huge. Sure. And you saw Jamil Muhammad. I know he's carrying his end of the weight. Jamil had to have added at least 20 pounds. At least. Go check out freshman arrival, Jade Abasiri. Oh, my God. Yeah. I tried to get Jonah to let me know how much weight the offensive line room gained. That's Hank Pepper, new long snapper. He wasn't sure. He said he'd get back to me. Bottom line, though, as you see these players coming out, and I do have to end this video. I'll do this again on the next episode. I got another video coming up in the second segment, talking about the coaches. You'll see what's going on the practice field. But I wanted to kind of sneak this in, kind of give you a sense of this is pre-practices. This is what we get to see. And everybody wants to see what the players look like after, coming in through the off season. There you go. Is your bracket already busted? Well, of course not. The tournament hasn't even started yet. But are you tired of the same old daily fantasy grind where you make a roster and cross your fingers and hope for the best, or losing on the last leg of your pick'em entry? Introducing Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent and you can play with your friends, not against them. Pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds, and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social DFS movement. Download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a free $5 entry into any NCAA basketball contest. Remember the code LOCKED ON, because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit, because we want you to burn rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's get back into this practice and, practice update and show you some video. Here is what happens during practice. What we get to see before the lovely Katie Ryan, our sports information director, says, all right, guys, time to go. Put it away. And in between that, we're actually asked to turn the camera off, put it in the pocket, whatever. Again, certain things they don't want us to see. Or better yet, what they don't want the general public to see. They trust us not to talk about it. With this staff, right off the bat, lots of energy with these guys. And they take a really hands-on approach. So to say that they are detail-oriented, that would be an understatement. That's a defensive line group you see there in the background, Coach Nua, Coach Henderson. Coach Nua was the first coach I saw for practice today. He was out really early. I'm not sure what was going. Maybe he was work. I have a feeling he might have been out there with some of the guys or getting some pro day work in. That's coming up in the next segment. But on day one, the defensive line group, all of them, as you can see, it's a big group there. They work together with Nua and Coach Henderson. I just wish I could have gotten a little bit closer so I could hear what they were saying. However, what I will say is Eric Henderson, you might see him in there. He's wearing these arm pads, like long sleeves, like this. And as the players were coming through, running through a rep, he would chop down on him, or they would chop down on his arms. First day impression, intense coach. I like the way the guys were running through the drills for him. And you might see Lincoln Riley there in the foreground. Yeah, you see it, see that visor? Yeah, Lincoln Riley spent a lot of time being a defensive coach on day one. After practice, Coach Riley said, but I enjoyed it. I feel like it's allowed me to be more present in other areas of the program. So as you can see there, I observed Coach Riley, he was staying on where the defense is practicing right there. That's called Brian Kennedy Field. And that's where the defense does most of their drill position work. The DBs are off to my right, the main field with Howard Jones, because that Brian Kennedy Field is limited. But check out Coach Riley there, man. He's all into it. All of a sudden, he's a defensive-minded guy. He's growing as a head coach, and he's talking about it. This is an adjustment for him. And the reason I'm pointing this note out, why it's important. Coach Riley made Luke Heward the quarterback's coach. And for the first time in 20 years, Lincoln Riley has kind of separated himself from that. And he said it's because his confidence level with this coaching staff allows him to spend more time with the other positions and not have to be constrained. He said this after practice. There are times where I want to be in the offensive line room meeting. There are times when I want to be in the defensive meetings. But I haven't missed a defensive install this spring. So to be able to bounce around but still be present there was ideal. Here you go. You can see Coach Belk and Taylor Mays working with the defensive backs. By the way, Coach Zach Hansen, you might have saw him walking up the ramp. He's really hard in this. He's got to be at least 6'8". He trimmed down during the offseason. He's looking good. Big as an oak tree. When practice started, as we're talking about the defensive backs here, Doug Belk, he was working with the corners. Taylor Mays kind of worked with the safeties. I really love how Belk communicates with the players. He's not an in-your-face type of guy. It's not what I noticed, at least initially. And he also introduced an awesome new defensive skill drill for the defense backs. And it wasn't just them. I saw a lot of guys going through this drill. And they call it ball hawk. Yeah, I'm sure you can figure this out. Basically, one player has possession of the ball, wrapping it up, and they're running down a line horizontally from sideline, towards the wall, so to speak. And two guys, one on each side, are trying to rip it out or punch it out, kind of like the way Anthony Beavers Jr. did in the Holiday Bowl. So right off the bat, these guys are being taught ball security and the defensive backs. You got one guy wrapping up, one guy trying to knock the ball out. Work in unison as a team. That's something I think you saw a little bit of at the end of the year in the Holiday Bowl. But getting to that point, the details, where everybody's not trying to knock the ball out, somebody's got to make the tackle, right? That's what this drill was all about. Way off in the distance, the offensive line group was doing their thing. Look, you're not going to get a whole lot of intel from what we get to see them doing. I did notice them doing one drill where they were backpedaling like they were defensive backs, and then all of a sudden turning and sprinting. Not sure what was going on there. However, I'm sure there was some method to Coach Henson's madness. Linebacker coach, Matt Entz. No other way to describe him as he's methodical. You can see a head coach coaching the position. And today, what he was focused on, what I was focusing on with him, the footwork, everything about footwork, maintaining your balance. He was teaching, from how you rest on your heels, where you line your heels up in your stance, how much you want to lean forward. It's all about the attention to detail. There was a drill with the linebackers. You might see it coming up through this video. I don't know. I'm trying to pay attention to what I want to talk about and what's going on there in the background as well. But slow install, attention to detail, do it again till you get it right. There was a couple of instances with the linebacker group. Nothing that anybody has to be concerned about. It was all about pursuit angle, inside out. And so he corrected the play. Hey, remember, we're doing inside out. There's the ball hawk drill we're talking about. Look, first day, lots of excitement. But I got to tell you, I've been to quite a few spring camps. I've been to the last two under Lincoln Riley. It looks and feels different. Of course it does. You got a new defensive coaching staff. I don't want to say it was more professional, but it had a serious but fun vibe to it. Does that make sense? I'll try and elaborate on that as I get a better feel for the coaching staff and what they're trying to do with these practices. Look, there's still 4 weeks to go, less one spring camp practice, and there's still plenty to do, right? But overall, the size of the players and the staff coaching them up, it feels like we're a little bit going back to the future. That was part of my Sunday takeaway that I wrote about. Back to the future. You're noticing that USC is bringing back the players from back in the day. The big guys, the guys who look like they belong at USC. So now you've got the Jimmies and the Joes, and you're combining that with the best X's and O's from this coaching staff. Offensively, you don't have a lot to worry about. You still got Lincoln Riley calling the plays. USC is going to score points. That wide receiver group, lethal. I think that running back group is going to overperform because that offensive line, they might be young, but they're big. So all of a sudden, like I said, back to the future. USC's getting the Jimmies and the Joes. They're getting the better X's and O's development. Hopefully. I think it's going to happen. Hey, you never know. I'm not calling for the 2004 team. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated. What I'm saying is there's a really good early vibe going on. You got the pieces in place now. Now let's just put the puzzle together and let's show it off. Plenty of time. Like I said, I'm gonna do this again. We'll see how it goes with Thursday's practice. Tomorrow is USC's NFL Pro Day. We're gonna talk about that in the next segment. I'll check that out. Mark Sanchez. I'll save it for the next segment. Excuse me. This week's March Madness Bracket Highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The Houston Cougars can only be described as an armada. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they earned a number one seed on Selection Sunday following their debut season with the Big 12 Conference. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Hey, what happened there? Oh, got rid of the video. Put me back in there. There we go. Like I said, I apologize for being a little herky-jerky here. A lot of buttons to push. I apologize. Anyway, Trojan cameo appearances some other notes. I was talking about USC's Pro Day. It's going to be on Wednesday. If you're making this your first watch, by the way, if you like what you're seeing, become a subscriber on YouTube. It's easy. It's free. Click the subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. And click that bell notification button. And you will not miss an episode. So it's Pro Day today. You're watching this episode on Wednesday, March 20th. The guys who are going to be participating, they were out on Howard Jones practice field earlier than the 2024 squad. They're getting some work in. Among those out there, Brendan Rice, Taj Washington, Marshawn Lloyd, Austin Jones, Jarrett Kingston, John Jackson Jr., Shane Lee, and of course, Caleb Williams. I learned Marshawn Lloyd, he's going to be represented by Liam Douglas. Remember, former Trojan offensive lineman? I told you I wanted to tell you two quick stories about Caleb Williams. You saw him talking to that young man in the first segment. Well, don't let anybody try and convince you that Caleb Williams is a diva. Any big times people. This young man, could have been 14, 15 years old at the most. He was just waiting outside. Here comes Caleb Williams. And Caleb took the time, offered some advice, answered the young man's questions. And you saw at the end there, knocked some knuckles, big old smile from the kid. That's what it's all about. That's who Caleb Williams is. That's your number one overall draft pick. Here's another thing. And it was so appropriate, so perfect. I remember when Caleb Williams arrived in 2022. And he came out for his first spring practice. And he turned the wrong way. He went towards Loker Stadium. He did the same thing today. He didn't realize he was trying to find Brendan Rice, who was on Howard Jones Field. Some things never change. It just seemed like everything came full circle, and I had to share that little anecdote. So Kay was like, "Hey, I guess I went the wrong way." I said, "I remember when this happened the first time you got here." We're gonna miss that guy. And again, I'm gonna have a nice USC Pro Day report on our next episode of Locked On USC. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'm going to tell you why USC hires a security guard company to help young adults cross a street that's maybe 20 yards. People on campus do not know how to drive cars or bikes or scooters or anything that's got a motor. All of a sudden, you hear these loud screeching tires and a Tesla slamming to a stop. And you look up, and Taylor Mays is this far from the front of the car. Mind you, there are crossing guards holding up stop signs. My money was still on Taylor, despite the loud screeching tires. Taylor would have won that battle. You saw Mark Sanchez there momentarily. How cool is this? I mean, think about this. Mark Sanchez, Mark's father, and Mark brought his son. 3 generations checking out USC football practice. You saw Kalen Bullock shaking hands. That's what's so great about coming to a USC practice. And it was even better when it was open to the public during the Pete Carroll days. You never knew who was going to show up. Ronnie Lott. When recruits come by, you're not just going to see some everyday guy. No, you got Hall of Famers. Ronnie Lott shows up on the regular. Marcus Allen, same thing. So don't be surprised if Eric Henderson invites some of the guys he trained in the NFL. I'll keep you updated on what's going on there. I'll be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow because we come at you 5 times a week. Tell me, did you like how the show went? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments section. I'll try and streamline the video a little bit more. Today, everything kind of all came together at once, and I wanted to get this done. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.